Fear is the oldest voice inside the human mind. Long before language, before laws, before morals or nations, fear whispered a single command: survive. It taught us when to run, when to fight, and when to stay silent. Fear sharpened our senses, carved caution into our decisions, and wrote invisible rules that still govern our lives today. Every heartbeat quickening in danger, every instinctive step back from a cliff, every hesitation before a risky choice is fear doing its job. Now imagine a morning unlike any other. Across the planet, 8 billion people wake up, open their eyes, and feel something missing. The familiar tightness in the chest is gone. The quiet alarm that usually hums in the background of the mind is silent. There is no anxiety about the future, no dread of consequences, no instinctive recoil from danger. Fear has vanished, not weakened, not suppressed, but erased entirely. Today on Wikivedia Plus, we will explore what would happen if humans woke up without fear. Let's dive in. At first glance, a world without fear sounds like freedom. No phobias, no social anxiety, no terror of death, failure, or rejection. People walk outside without hesitation. No one worries about embarrassment or judgment. Conversations become brutally honest. Dreams once buried under doubt suddenly feel achievable. It looks like liberation, but fear is not just an emotion. It is a biological system deeply wired into the brain. The amygdala, a small almond-shaped structure, acts as an alarm center. It scans reality for threats, triggering cascades of hormones, adrenaline, cortisol that prepare the body to react. Remove fear, and you don't just remove panic. You remove the warning system itself. The first changes would be subtle. Traffic accidents spike within hours. Pedestrians cross roads without hesitation. Drivers accelerate without concern for consequences. The concept of danger still exists intellectually, but it no longer carries emotional weight. Knowing a stove is hot means nothing if there is no instinctive aversion to pain. Emergency rooms overflow, not because people want to get hurt, but because nothing inside them tells them to avoid it. Children become the most vulnerable. Fear is what teaches a child not to touch fire, not to wander into darkness, not to trust every stranger. Without fear, learning through caution disappears. Survival becomes trial and error becomes fatal far more often. Nature, too, becomes unforgiving. Hikers approach wild animals with curiosity instead of caution. Storm warnings are ignored. The ocean loses its menace. Mountains lose their intimidation. Thousands die simply because nothing inside them says, "This will kill you." Within days, society begins to fracture. Law depends heavily on fear. Fear of punishment, fear of loss, fear of consequences. Without fear, deterrence collapses. Prisons still exist, but the idea of incarceration loses its psychological power. A cell is just another room if you do not fear confinement, time, or suffering. Crime changes its nature. Violent crime initially drops not because people become kinder, but because rage and fear are deeply linked. Many violent acts are fueled by fear. Fear of disrespect, fear of loss of power, fear of humiliation. But this calm does not last. A new kind of danger emerges: reckless immorality. People steal without fear of being caught. Corporations dump toxins without fear of scandal. Leaders make catastrophic decisions without fear of public backlash. There is no internal break. Power becomes terrifyingly efficient. Political leaders no longer fear war. Nuclear weapons lose their psychological taboo. The fear that once prevented escalation, mutually assured destruction, no longer terrifies anyone. A button can be pressed without trembling hands. History's most dangerous restraint disappears overnight. Midway through this new reality, something even stranger happens. Courage becomes meaningless. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is action despite fear. Remove fear, and bravery loses its definition. Firefighters are no longer heroes. Soldiers are no longer brave. They are simply acting without resistance. Sacrifice loses its moral weight. Love changes as well. Fear plays a silent role in relationships. Fear of loss, fear of rejection, fear of hurting someone we care about. Without it, attachments become fragile. People leave without hesitation. Promises lose their gravity. Commitment fades, not from cruelty, but from emotional neutrality. Parents no longer fear for their children. Partners no longer fear betrayal. Empathy weakens because fear allows us to imagine suffering our own and others. Without it, compassion becomes abstract. Mental health shifts in paradoxical ways. Anxiety disorders vanish overnight. Phobias cease to exist, but so does motivation. Fear of failure drives preparation. Fear of loss drives responsibility. Fear of death gives urgency to life. Without fear, procrastination explodes. Why hurry if nothing feels urgent? Why strive if failure carries no emotional cost? Entire industries collapse. Insurance becomes irrelevant. Security systems lose purpose. Warning labels become meaningless text. Education struggles because discipline was always enforced by consequences, and consequences no longer intimidate. This world cannot last. Fear is a survival trait selected over millions of years. Species without effective threat detection go extinct. Humanity, stripped of fear, becomes a biological anomaly, intelligent, creative, and doomed. Within a generation, population numbers plummet. Those who survive are not stronger or smarter, but simply lucky. Civilization regresses, not because fear made us cruel, but because fear made us careful. And then a final question emerges. If fear is gone, is humanity still human? Fear shaped our myths, our art, and our morality. Heaven and hell were built on fear. Laws were enforced by fear. Dreams were pursued because time scared us. Meaning itself was carved by the knowledge that everything ends. A fearless humanity may feel free, but it would also feel hollow. Life without fear is life without stakes. And without stakes, existence loses tension, direction, and depth. Fear was never the enemy. It was the price of being alive. As this world slowly collapses under its own recklessness, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. Fear did not weaken humanity. It kept it alive. This is the paradox of fear. It hurts, it limits, it frightens, but it also protects, motivates, and defines us. And maybe the most terrifying thought of all is not a world full of fear, but a world without it. This is where our story ends. If fear disappeared tomorrow, would humanity evolve into something higher or vanish entirely? Share your thoughts below and tell us which questions you want explored next. If you enjoyed this journey, subscribe to Wikivedia Plus and stay curious. Because the next idea might change how you see reality itself.